The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
Okay, let's go.
Oh my God. Welcome to the circus that is the United States of America. Oh my God. Seriously, what happened to this world and country? All right. Hey, happy Wednesday. It's Ray Dustar, Deep Shallow Dive. And for those of you that don't really pay attention or don't really care, God, you're lucky. I wish I didn't care. I seriously do. I really wish I just didn't care about any of this stuff. My life would be a lot simpler and I would have a lot more free time on my hands versus now adding this podcast to the mix, which, again, don't get me wrong, I love it, but it is a lot of work. It definitely is. Okay, so yesterday, the House of Representatives voted out Speaker Kevin McCarthy, which basically he's like the top dog in the House on the Republican side because the Republicans hold a majority in the House. And so McCarthy was the speaker, the majority speaker, and they voted him out. Now, there's a lot to this, and I'm going to try and unpack this in a very simplistic, well, as much as I can in a simplistic fashion. But, you know, the verdict on Kevin McCarthy, I don't know. This guy, he's weird to me. I think he's definitely, again, he falls under that career politician mold. And so fundamentally, anyone that falls under that mold to me is just a survivor. And whether they are a Republican or a Democrat, they're a survivor and they want to survive and they want to keep, their livelihood going as long as I can. So he definitely falls under that. There's some things from his past that I'm going to see if I can find to bring up. But fundamentally, there's a Florida congressman named Matt Gaetz. If you haven't heard that name, he's a younger guy. Oh my God, he is probably hated by a lot of fellow Republicans today. He's a little bit of a rebel rouser and he stirs it up. He stirs the pot a little. Most people, if you listen to the mainstream media and you don't really listen to Matt, like a friend of mine who I had a conversation with last night on all this stuff, his immediate take was, and I'm going to not swear, but you'll get the point of what he said was, he's like, oh, Gaetz, he's a beep, beep. He's a stupid beep, beep. I just beeped myself out. Basically, he just completely went off on him. And I said, well, have you listened to anything he said? Do you understand that he basically championed all this because McCarthy has completely gone back on all the promises that he made when he actually won the speakership? And he said, oh, I don't know, guy's an idiot. So anyway, all right, let's give this a listen and then you can judge yourself if Matt Gaetz is an idiot, and then we'll dive in more to the Kevin McCarthy stuff. So first, let's listen to this interview Gaetz gave, and this is on Monday, so this is a day before he actually gets ousted. Okay, give this a listen.
Are you worried about throwing this institution into chaos, paralyzing an institution that your party runs?
Well, you know what I think paralyzes us? Continuing to govern by continuing resolution and omnibus. You know what I think throws this institution into chaos? Marching us toward the dollar not being the global reserve currency anymore. You talk about chaos as if it's me forcing a few votes and filing a few motions. Real chaos is when the American people have to go through the austerity that is coming if we continue to have $2 trillion annual deficits. You don't know chaos until you've seen where this Congress and this uniparty is bringing us.
So I wanted to start off with that because honestly, I've listened to a lot of things Matt Gaetz has said, and the thing that he said in that speech, which I am totally on board with, is, he's been a big proponent of single subject spending bills. And he also mentions these omnibus bills, which nobody knows what an omnibus bill is. So I'm going to explain it to you.
$700 billion and $1.3 trillion.
Wow, the president of the United States with a cameo. I appreciate that, President Biden. And yeah, that's pretty accurate. It's like 700 trillion, a billion, $300 million. That is kind of what these omnibus bills are like. Okay, no, in all seriousness, omnibus bill is what we see when all of a sudden it's like $832 billion bill or several $1 trillion bill, which got passed during the COVID time, where they group like 500 things into that bill. The bills are normally 1,000 to sometimes, I'm not even kidding, 5,000 pages. And then they deliver it to the Congress people and they give them 24 hours to read it, to vote on it the next day. That's seriously how it happens. And so he's been a big advocate of saying, hey, stop doing this. We need to have single subject spending bills. Let's vote on XYZ. Now let's vote on XYZ. Now let's vote on XYZ. And in that case, the XYZs are 3 different things. It's not about grouping, 500 things into one. And then in that group, they've slid in all these things on the down low. And that's how it happens. It really is how it happens. So you can't poke a hole in that. Like, he's not wrong about that. And any politician that doesn't agree with that, it's because they try to slide things in on the DL in these omnibus bills. So I really liked that he's centered a lot of his discussion around that. The other thing is, he talks about the dollar being replaced as the global reserve currency. I promise I'm going to do my petrodollar episode hopefully this week, because I think that is becoming more and more and more closer to potentially coming into play. And the petrodollar is basically all countries that buy oil from Saudi Arabia, Iran, UAE, all these countries have to settle those transactions in the US dollar. This was something created in 1971 by Richard Nixon. And that's basically what has propelled the United States to such global dominance, is being the global reserve currency because of all these payments being required in oil. And so that now is being basically potentially, again, I'm going to say potentially, because I've got a lot of friends I talk to and they're just adamant about there's no chance this is ever going to happen. There's no chance. The dollar is too big. It's too strong. It's too stable. That's the argument several friends make. They say that it's too stable versus the currency, the Chinese yuan or any other currency. It's not stable enough for other countries to trust it to buy their oil through. But again, all things have to come to an end at some point. So anyway, back to this, I did like that he mentioned that. And so, that's an initial take that he gave prior to this happening. Okay, now give this a listen.
It is astonishing to hear any colleague give Speaker McCarthy credit for moving on to the single subject appropriations bills. As you heard my colleague, Mr. Biggs, say, that was never the plan from Speaker McCarthy. The week before we moved on to those single subject appropriations bills, the plan was another CR. He pitched a CR. They tried to get us to vote for a CR, and only when a brave few said, we are done governing by continuing resolution. We are here to eulogize the era of continuing resolution. We will not do it. We will not pass it. These bills can go. The spending may rise and fall as the years pass. But the notion that we're going to lump in the Department of Education and the Department of Labor with our military and our troops and our Border Patrol is fundamentally unserious, and I would suggest chaotic. We cannot do that. It was only because we forced that to happen. And by the way, if we continue with Speaker McCarthy, the appropriations process will go right back to what he wanted it to go back to. Just a sideshow, just a puppet show, just something to keep the hamsters on the hamster wheel as they continue to back people up against a calendar, centralize power with the lobbyists and special interests that move all kind of money through the leadership, And then that's how they get their way. And that's why the American people have been getting screwed decade after decade. And I'm not going to tolerate it anymore without a fight. I reserve.
All right, seriously. This guy's about to have a sex scandal dropped on him or something, because actually they already tried that with him. Holy mackerel. That was pretty insane what he said. I'm going to play the last part again because seriously, please pay attention and listen to this. And again, maybe you don't agree with it, but pay attention. Listen to this.
Just a sideshow. Just a puppet show. Just something to keep the hamsters on the hamster wheel as they continue to back people up against a calendar, centralize power with the lobbyists and special interests that move all kind of money through the leadership. And then that's how they get their way. And that's why the American people have been getting screwed decade after decade. And I'm not going to tolerate it anymore without a fight. I reserve.
Sideshow, puppet show, lobbyists. I mean, it's tough to poke a hole in that. It is. So for all you that think Matt Gaetz is an idiot, I mean, tell me why. Tell me why. Seriously, I'm open to hearing diverging opinions on this, but those two speeches made a lot of sense to me. All right, one thing I'm going to do for future episodes is dig into this continuing resolution, the CR that he talked about. I'll try to understand omnibus even better and try and make more sense of all that. But I will say again, as has been apparent several times since COVID, they've talked about these 1,000, 2,000, up to 6,000 page bills that get dropped on their desk at 10 o'clock at night and the vote starts, at 7 a.m. I mean, there's no way these senators or congressmen are able to read any of that stuff. So the concept of omnibus and continuing resolution and all that, it's basically just ridiculous amounts of paperwork, cramming everything together. And it's either yes or no. You have to vote on all of it. You have to pass it all or pass none of it. You can't cut it up into pieces. And that's what should happen. It should be split up into several pieces, single topic bills. That's what should be voted on, not gigantic bills that have 500 things that are completely divergent from one another. They have no correlation with each other. Military funding and education funding, those don't have anything to do with each other. So let's vote on them separately. All right, so I'm going to end today's episode with, I guess, here. Honestly, I'm recording this basically yesterday when this all went down. And so I think there's going to be a lot of things that come out over the next, 24 hours. So I'm sure I'll do a follow-up on this, but, I'm going to leave it with this. It's a mess. It's just a mess. It's all a mess. And there's so much distraction and so much division and so much confusion. It's a mess. It's a complete mess on both sides, from a dude pulling a fire alarm to now this. It's just a circus. It's just a circus. All right. Anyway, call a spade a spade. Talk to you soon.
This episode was brought to you by Boost Liquid Vitamins. Wake up, take your Boost, start your day. Drink your vitamins, build your immune system with Boost. Available on Boost.com.